If you're a music maker, and I know that's broad, but if you just produce, sing, songwrite, compose, any of that, if there's one takeaway I would have with this video is just keep doing it. Keep making music. And the reason why I say this is, growing up as a kid, all I wanted to do was just make music. I remember I really loved the boy bands of the time during the early 2000s, and one of my favorite bands was Boys Like Girls, and all I think about was just performing on stage with them, being a drummer. As crazy as it sounds as a little kid, but that's really all I thought about. And I'd even grab stuff from the lawn and just go into the backyard and just pretend I'm performing on stage and just singing aloud to people. And I think what growing up to be, I'm 24 now, and I think back on those years as a kid, and to be honest, as disappointing as it is to say, I do feel like I've kind of let Kid Andrew down in a sense. In my Logic profiles, there's a ton of demos, instrumentals, just random shit that I've worked on throughout the years, that's just never seen the light of day. There's even sessions, jam sessions with my friends. There's just a ton of files on there that I felt too scared to really release to the public or just share with people. And I feel like the music that I have shared is really just with close friends, and that's about it for the most part. And to be honest, I feel like I've fallen into so many of the pitfalls that a lot of artists fall into. Just sort of this crippling anxiety you have of what if no one likes what I'm doing? What if people just make fun of it? What if people judge it? What if my friends, family don't like what I'm doing or what I'm putting out? And there's also other existential questions that you run into as well. What if no one is ever going to watch this or view this or listen to this? No one's ever going to watch this music video that I put out. No one's ever going to listen to this song that I put out. And that's something that plagues a lot of artists from what I see on threads and discussions, forums, is there's a lot of that question being asked around, which is, if I put this song out and it gets, 0 views, 0 listens on Spotify, what's the point of it? What's the point of making music if no one's gonna listen to it? And it's not to say that everything's gone wrong for me on the music end. There are always small accomplishments that I'm sure I, along with any of you others out there, that I can take pride in. For example, for me, something that I was proud of was just learning to play guitar, learning a bit about how to play piano. I've also been able to pick up a cool vocal warming technique from a friend, or even just been able to be part of a jam session. But do I feel like I could have been doing more with music, especially now that I'm reaching my mid-20s? Absolutely. And throughout my journey here, there are a few lessons that I came away with that I think are really important. One is you are so much better than you think you are. And I know that might sound cliche to say, but it's true. I have a friend who's a buddy of mine who makes awesome music. He produces and he songwrites. And the stuff that he puts out, he generally just keeps away from the public. There's a couple projects that he's put out into the open, but what I always like to tell him is just to keep working, keep grinding, just keep improving on what he's doing, because I really do feel like there's something special within the art that he's making. And I could say the same for a lot of people I listen to, whether they only have 10 listeners, 10 monthly listeners, or whether they have 100 or however many. It doesn't really matter. The point is that the art that they're making is something that is worthy of being put out into the world. And that's something that I just want to emphasize, because at the end of the day, you're making art. You're creating something that has the potential to be extraordinarily beautiful. And, it's a shame for it to not, be put out there into the world if that's really what you're sort of aiming to do. A lot of us, our biggest enemy is ourselves. We think whatever we're working on, sounds trash. No one's gonna fuck with it. It sounds terrible. The mixing's bad. And, you have to give yourself credit. If you've been in the music game for more than, 2 or 3 years, and you've been putting in consistent effort, that effort will show eventually. And as long as you're going about it in a smart way as well, you're adapting, you're learning from your mistakes with each and every song that you're putting out, or each and every song that you're working on. That matters, and that will show in the music that you're putting out eventually. The second thing I'd want to sort of advise too is make music because you love it. We're so obsessed with chasing the current trend, the current what makes a banger, what makes you think people are going to listen to this particular track, what stands out about it. And while that can definitely, have some merit in its own of just seeing, what is the latest trend, um, do it because you genuinely enjoy that trend. Make music because you love it. Growing up as a kid, I was, pretty much forced to play the violin, and that's, typical Asian American experience there. But what I found tragic about, Asian American parents pushing their kids to play an instrument is oftentimes I feel like the love of it, the passion for it gets lost in translation. And passion is not something that you can necessarily just teach into someone. It's something much more than that. It's something that you have to actively seek out on your own. Otherwise, it's going to go for shit. It wasn't until, I started picking up the guitar that I thought, wow, this is enjoyable. This is something I really love doing. And ultimately, that's what matters at the end of the day, is you have to love what you're doing. And if you don't love what you're doing, then you might need to reassess, okay, is this really my passion? Is this something that I want to be doing long term? And to be clear, everyone has their dry spells. Everyone has their moments where they're going through writer's block. I myself go through writer's block all the time. And what I'd say to that is that's okay. It's okay to struggle with writing for a bit. It's okay to take some time off. Really, the point of making music is not for it to be stressful. Ultimately, it's for it to be an experience where you're living life at the same time. You're living your own experiences, and ultimately, if you're making your own music, it comes from your own experiences at the end of the day. The third thing I like to emphasize is just be very clear and upfront about your goals. If you want to have more listeners, simply just putting out music all day and just calling it a day ultimately probably won't do you anything. What are you doing in terms of your marketing? How are you branding yourself? Are you posting on social media? Are you posting on YouTube? Are you posting a music video for your song? I know people like to clown artists a lot for self-promoting or typing in a comment saying, hey, check out my music. But here's a fun fact. I'm sure everyone knows Tommy Richmond. Everyone knows his $1 Million Baby song. If you don't, you're living under a rock. Go listen to it. And with Tommy Richmond, what's interesting about him is actually I found him commenting way back in I think 2019, 2020. It was a long time ago. I don't quite remember the year, but I saw him commenting under a video, and I thought, oh, just another artist promoting themselves. And when I clicked on his, YouTube channel, I figured, why the hell not? Let me just check out this guy's music. And yeah, I listened to his music and I thought this is someone special. He's gonna go somewhere someday. And lo and behold, look at him now. So that just goes to say that, don't be afraid to use what you can to your advantage to really promote yourself and put an image of yourself out there for your music. Otherwise, honestly, it's not going to get any plays. And with the oversaturation of how easy it is to make music nowadays and how many artists are in the scene, looking for small ways to make yourself stand out is not a bad thing. And there's much to be said about, being organic, being as natural as you can with putting out your music. And that's true. Stay true to yourself, stay true to the art that you're putting out and making sure that it's unique and representing you at the end of the day. But also don't be afraid to use what you can to put your music out there. And the last thing I'd like to mention too is it's all about effort at the end of the day. I think people vastly underestimate how much work actually gets put into making music, whether it's writing a song, writing lyrics, making instrumental, or just putting out the song entirely by itself. All of that requires so many working parts. And if you're an artist, if you're in the music scene, you understand how much effort it takes to really make a song. And you can stay up until 4 or 5 a.m. just spending hours and hours over small details. And one of the books I've been reading lately is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And something I read in that book that really stands out to me is he says that dedication, passion, enthusiasm, you can have all of that, but ultimately it doesn't matter if you don't have a work ethic to back it up. And that doesn't apply to just music. That applies to everything. If you're not working hard, if you're not putting in the effort, forget it. You're not ever gonna really put out something that I feel that you're ever gonna be truly proud of, and something that you can say, oh, this is something that I can look back on and sort of cherish. So ultimately, I want to put out all this advice that I hope is helpful for all of you watching this that makes music. And I want to say, don't be discouraged. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. And yeah, we just keep moving.